everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. And as you can see from the title and thumbnail of today's video, today we are talking about the Drunken Peasants.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
And more specifically, we are talking about how the Drunken Peasants are completely and utterly irrelevant without Brett Keane. Yes, this is true. And yes, we are going to look at some pretty compelling evidence supporting that claim today. But first, backstory. How did we get to the point where this video came into existence? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. Not too long ago, as yesterday at the time of this recording, that Brett Keane shared a tweet saying, "Brett Keane live, everyone welcome, link pinned in comments," and he shared the link to his live stream, to which the Drunken Peasants responded, "Nobody wants to watch a stream of you choking on your neck fat for 2+ hours. Let's see what you are looking like these days, Brett. Roll out of bed and take a photo situation, you toothless sea cow." Some more of the manatee jokes, okay. Brett responded, "Still stalking underage girls, loser? Your show is dead since the amazing atheist realized you had no talent and left. Everyone knows you drugged Scotty's girl for sex. By the way, your pal is worm food." One of the members of the Drunken Peasants recently passed away, so that's why Brett is saying this. He's talking about it from the atheist perspective. To which the Drunken Peasants respond, "It's hilarious that you're such a confirmed liar that people are inclined to believe the opposite every time you flap those toothless gums. A liar, a coward, a lazy waste of space. There's actual reality and the false one that only exists in your tiny brain. Fat censored." To which I responded, "Wait, you guys still exist?" In response to me, the Drunken Peasant said, "It will be hilarious when Brett eventually stabs you in the back and becomes your enemy. I'm pretty sure it's already happened with you once. Brett has unbreakable cycles, and that is part of them." So I responded, "Brett has never been my enemy. Not once. I'm not an immature idiot like you guys." Now, before I continue, I would like to point out that if you've been a longtime follower of my channel, and Drunken Peasants might be hinting at this, I did a video almost 5 months ago titled "Brett Keane Blocked Me on Social Media." Long story short, what happened is that on the November 5th, 2024 election day, I did a live stream that Brett was in, and I let a Kamala Harris supporter come onto the stream to engage in conversation with us. And Brett left the stream immediately, and then he blocked me on Twitter. I didn't even realize it for a few months because I had a lot of stuff going on at the time behind the scenes. And when I found out about it, I was initially sad, upset, but I decided not to make a video about it for a couple of months. Then I made a video about it, and then Brett Keane and I got reconnected, and we've been going strong since on our respective content careers. What happened in that video? Well, if you actually take the time to watch the video, which you can see here on the screen, and which you can find in the description box down below, you'll find that I didn't belittle Brett. I didn't accuse him of being some kind of manatee sea cow. I didn't make fun of his characteristics. I didn't commit ad hominem attacks on him. I simply pointed out that it was sad that he blocked me after everything he had done for me in terms of helping me learn how to use technology and social media to be a better content creator. Brett did a lot of things to help me get to where I am today in terms of content creation as a craft. So I made sure to make that clear in my video about this, and I did not burn my bridge with Brett, because you see, that's how normal adults function. I know that's hard for you to consider, Drunken Peasants. I know the idea of being an adult and not burning every bridge you have over minor disagreements is something that goes way beyond your head, but adults don't have to do that. So I made this video, Brett and I got reconnected, all is forgiven, We're doing just fine. So in response, Drunken Peasant says, "It will happen. It always does. Everyone learns his true nature eventually." To which I responded, "We already know your true nature, and that's why your channel is a rotting corpse. You're nothing without Brett Keane." Drunken Peasant said in response, "Be careful censoring him so hard. You might get some in your hair." And I blew right through that insult and pointed out, "Your two most viewed uploads and many of your most viewed videos are videos where Brett Keane was on the show or you responded to Brett's videos. You're nothing without Brett, and you know it." Drunken Peasant said in response to me, "It's actually the opposite. Brett is nothing without DP. He will forever be remembered as our LOL Cow. If it was the other way, he would have made the hundreds of thousands of dollars off us, but we walked away with all of it. Here's a recent video about it." Now, there are multiple problems here. The first problem is that when I pointed out that their two most viewed uploads and many of their most viewed videos were videos where Brett Keane was either on their show or they were responding to one of Brett's videos, their response was to say, "It's the opposite. Brett is nothing without DP." Really? I don't think so, guys. You have to remember that Brett Keane, before he appeared on the Drunken Peasants and before he became a Christian, was an atheist. He literally paved the way for the atheist community that is on YouTube today to exist. Even people who make videos about Brett today slamming on him are the first ones to acknowledge that, yes, Brett Keane was the first internet atheist. He was the first YouTube atheist to really do the kind of things that YouTube atheists do today. Brett literally pioneered that whole genre. He pioneered that whole movement back when he was an atheist. So Brett, being a former atheist, and not just any former atheist, he was the atheist who pioneered the entire YouTube atheist community. He was really popular back then, back when Drunken Peasants first started. That's why you had him on your show over and over and over again. And that's why your two most viewed uploads and many of your most viewed videos, Drunken Peasants, got so many views, because Brett was popular. He really was. And in case you guys do not believe me, let's go to the Drunken Peasants YouTube channel, which you can see here on screen. We're on the videos tab, and if you just click on popular, you'll see that, oh my goodness, their most viewed upload is titled Brett Keane, Counterdictions of a Gourd Believer, a 3.5-hour live stream that has over 438,000 views and was uploaded 7 years ago. What's their second most viewed video? Oh look, a video called Religion Debate, Paul's Ego, TJ Kirk versus the Brett Keane Posse. And this is where Brett Keane and a bunch of his friends were involved in this. And then if you go to their 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th most viewed upload, oh look, TJ's response to Brett Keane's challenge, Man Argues with Judge. So once again, a video about Brett Keane has over 218,000 views. And then, of course, if you go through the uploads, you'll find there are several videos where Brett Keane was either on the show or he was talked about on the show, and that video got over 100,000 views. Then you go to live streams, where you see more of the same. When you go to the popular tab on the live stream page for Drunken Peasants, you see that their second most viewed live stream of all time, which is called DP number 166, Brett Keane, #We Were There, French Vanilla Situations, a 2.5-hour live stream with over 596,000 views. And of course, if you go through the list, you'll see that there were a number of videos about Brett Keane or involving Brett Keane in their live streams that have hundreds of thousands of views. So Brett Keane literally is responsible for all of their popularity, or at least a very large chunk of their popularity, because a lot of their most viewed videos, a lot of their videos that have over 100,000 views were about or involved Brett Keane being on the show. And I already know what the Drunken Peasants are going to say. They're going to say, well, yeah, that's true, but we have a lot of other videos that got a lot of views that weren't about Brett Keane or had Brett Keane on the show. Sure, Yeah, back when you guys were popular, and a lot of your popularity came from Brett Keane being on your show. And you talked about Milo Yiannopoulos back when he actually mattered. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at all of their most popular videos, they are all from like 7 to 10 plus years ago, and a lot of them involved Brett Keane. So without Brett Keane, they wouldn't have a lot of the popularity that they do. Which is why when you go looking through all of their recent live streams, as a matter of fact, if you go looking through just the last 2 months, there's 11, maybe 12 live streams that the Drunken Peasants have done in the last 2 months alone that are about Brett Keane videos or Brett Keane tweets. Now, Brett Keane is supposedly just some washed up, has-been loser YouTuber, and yet he's somehow so important that you guys have to keep doing live streams about him, even though it doesn't do anything for your channel. I think the reason why you do so many live streams about him is because back in the day, doing live streams about Brett Keane used to get you crazy amounts of views and real engagement and real subscribers. Which leads into the next point I'd like to point out. If you go looking around on the Drunken Peasants YouTube channel, what you'll discover is that if you go through their channel, they allegedly have over 105,000 subscribers at the time of this recording. But if you look at every live stream they've done over the last year, only 2 live streams have more than 10,000 views. Only like 4 or 5 live streams roughly have over 6,000 views. The vast majority of the live streams that the Drunken Peasants have done in the last year get between 1,000 to 2,000 views. Some of their live streams even have less than 1,000 views. Now, I'm not knocking them for having those kind of view counts. I would be happy if I had those view counts consistently on my channel. The problem is that they have over 105,000 subscribers, allegedly, and I have 500. So the fact that they're getting such low view counts relative to their subscriber count indicates to me one thing. The Drunken Peasants bought subscriber bots to artificially boost their subscriber count to make themselves look more popular than they actually are. Now, how do I know that this could be the case if it isn't guaranteed to be the case? Well, because Kent Hovind was exposed by me and other people for the same thing a couple years ago, which you can watch in my video, Kent Hovind banned from YouTube for buying subs, calls on his followers to false flag his critics. When you watch this video, you'll see in the video I talk about how Kent Hovind's original channel, Kent Hovind Official, that had over 200,000 subscribers and yet couldn't get more than 10,000 views on a video, hardly ever. And just like the Drunken Peasants, almost every video Kent Hovind did or every live stream he did could only get 1,000 to a couple thousand views. We theorized back then that Kent Hovind was buying subscribers, and then in a video that he put out after his DAL channel and his Kent Hovind Official channel were both banned, he admitted that they bought subscribers and that they needed money to buy them back. We know for a fact that Kent Hovind was buying subscribers to make his channel look more popular than it actually was, and one of the biggest indicators of this was the fact that his video and live stream view counts were drastically, laughably lower than his subscriber count. The same thing is going on with the Drunken Peasants, so I'm concluding based off of what I learned with Kent Hovind that the Drunken Peasants most likely buy subscribers to make themselves look more popular than they actually are. This would explain why their view counts are so low relative to their subscriber count. Now, the second thing I want to point out about what the Drunken Peasants said in this last tweet of theirs I read is that they claimed that Brett Keane will forever be remembered as their LOL Cow. Well, you might be wondering to yourself, what is a LOL Cow? Well, if you go to Google and you look up the term LOL Cow, it says, according to Wiktionary, the free dictionary, LOL Cow, which is internet slang and derogatory, a LOL Cow is a person whose eccentric or foolish behavior can be exploited to amuse onlookers. In other words, a LOL Cow is someone that you exploit. And then under people also ask, what does LOL Cow mean? It says, targets of harassment are referred to on the forum as LOL Cows, named after the idea that they can be milked for laughs. So in other words, when you call someone a LOL Cow, you are exploiting them. You are literally harassing them at their expense just for some laughs. In other words, you're a sick, twisted freak who gets off on harassing and exploiting people. That makes you a horrible person, Drunken Peasants. That makes you a bully. That makes you an alpha loser. Because any monkey can do that. Oh, wait, that's right. You're atheists and evolutionists. I'm sorry. You guys do believe that you descended from some kind of ape-like ancestor. Oh, my mistake. You also believe that you ultimately come from some microbacteria that formed on some rocks near some hydrothermal vents underneath the ocean 3.5 to 4.2 billion years ago. How could I be so silly and forget something important like that? The last thing I want to point out is that the Drunken Peasants actually sent me a link to a video expose about Brett Keane that was put out earlier this year. I did watch the entire video, and I am going to make a separate video responding to this video because there's some things in it that I have to say towards the guy who made it. But the bottom line is that when you look at the video that I was sent the link to, and you watch it all the way through, you realize that all of the dirty laundry that the content creator who made the video had on Brett Keane is stuff that he did back when he was an atheist and back when he was in the early days of his Christian faith and he was still working out those bad habits that he developed from being an atheist for a decade. In other words, they are holding Brett Keane's past sins against him forever, just like the woke cupcakes that the Drunken Peasants are. Because just like the woke right, the woke left, which the Drunken Peasants are a part of, they don't believe in forgiveness. They don't believe in giving people the time and the space to change and become better people, despite what they say on their videos. No. You commit a sin in the past, it's stuck on you forever, and nothing can erase or change that, and it will be held against you forever. Literally, Brett Keane's sins from when he was an atheist, which makes up the bulk of the gripes that they have against Brett Keane that were outlined in this video and have been outlined by others. Brett's sins are being held against him. Sins that he primarily committed while he was an atheist and when he was a baby theist/Christian. Brett Keane today is not the same person he was back then. One of the primary differences between Brett Keane back then, when he was on the Drunken Peasants all the time and you guys were having your heyday, and now, is that Brett Keane didn't have people like me in his friend circle back then. He didn't have people who were knowledgeable about the Bible and who could keep their cool under fire from shows like yours and content creators like you. He didn't have friends like me who were mature enough to not behave like a child whenever a mild disagreement happens. Brett, before me, didn't really have friends like me. Just about every person that Brett had as a friend back then is somebody that was either using him to increase their own internet clout, or they were pretending to be his friend only to talk crap about him behind his back, or they were calling themselves Christians and then their crazy heresy insanity came out, or their criminal history came out. Brett, before me, has never really had someone like me consistently in his life. And I've been one of Brett Keane's internet friends since 2019. It's been literally 6 years since I first came across Brett Keane's videos on BitChute and since I got in contact with him and we started doing collaborations together. It's been years, and it's been fun. Brett Keane has been actually very helpful to me personally as a content creator, which is why in the follow-up tweet that you see here on screen, I said, Brett will forever be remembered as a talented graphic artist, expert in video production, and a man willing to help his fellow content creators create better videos without any strings attached. You know why I said that? Because Brett Keane and I talk a lot outside of our content, outside of our collaborations, outside of our individual videos that we do. Brett Keane is a talented graphic artist. He makes really cool intros and outros and graphic art. He is an expert in video production because he is very good at using programs like OBS. He's very good at using software like StreamYard to do an awesome live stream. Brett is actually really great at this. I wish he lived in my state because I would totally recruit him to help me in my television job that I have. I totally would. And Brett Keane is a man who's willing to help his fellow content creators create better videos without any strings attached because that's what he did for me. He taught me how to use OBS better. He introduced me to StreamYard. He introduced me to a slew of other websites and softwares. And he did so without asking me for anything in return. He wasn't like, okay, give me $20 and I'll help you with this stuff. I'll show you how to do this, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z for me. No, Brett never did that. But I learned all these things about Brett Keane because I was a mature adult and actually had civil conversations with him. I didn't scream and yell at him like a orangutan like you guys did in all of your videos about him and all your live streams that you did where he was actually on the show. You don't treat him like a human being. You treat him like a disposable commodity, a LOL cow. You exploit him and harass him and commit ad hominem attack after ad hominem attack against him for years to this day because you get sick pleasure out of it. You keep doing it even though it doesn't help you grow your channel because you've gotten addicted to Brett Keane. Brett Keane not only was popular back in the day, but you literally exploited his popularity and harassed him nonstop from that moment on and to the present day because you guys are sick. You people are not good people at the Drunken Peasants. You're horrible, lousy bullies. There's nothing redeeming about your content. And people have caught on to you guys. That's why you struggle to get any views at all, despite allegedly having 100,000 subscribers. A subscriber count which I'm betting dollars to donuts you bought some bots to increase, to make yourselves look more popular than you actually are. Because the amount of views you guys get is not indicative of a channel with 100,000 subs. Now I know the Drunken Peasants will probably be highly tempted to say that I'm just one of Brett Keane's underlings. I'm just someone that he took under his wing and trained up and then unleashed on the internet. I mean, that's what Kenny Rhodes said back in the day before he went off his crazy train and became a pedo enabler and eventually got off the internet, and who apparently survived a suicide attempt in recent months or towards the end of last year. But if you're tempted to think that, don't. I was making content before Brett Keane and I ever met. I've been a content creator longer than I've been friends with Brett Keane, and the views that I have today are largely the same as the views I had before I met Brett Keane, so I'm definitely not the byproduct of Brett Keane taking me under his wing. Brett Keane and I have things we disagree on in terms of theology and philosophy, but Brett Keane is a good guy. He is a decent human being, especially when you treat him right and you don't exploit and harass him like you guys have done for over a decade. The only thing that Brett Keane has ever done for me is he has helped me learn how to make higher quality videos from the technical production side. He's introduced me to new softwares and websites, and he has helped promote my content whenever he can, like a good friend would. So I have lots of respect for Brett Keane because he's actually a decent human being, unlike you guys. And with that, that's all I have to say in this video. And if you like what you see and you want to see more of my content, especially new content that comes out in the future, I would encourage you to subscribe to me not just on my YouTube channel, but also on my Rumble channel, on my BitChute channel, on my Quarter channel, on my Odyssey channel. I would encourage you to follow me on Twitter, Gab, Getter, and all the other alt-tech social media sites that I have, links to which you can find in the description box down below. And with that, I bid you guys adieu, farewell, and I will see you in the next video.